Game 1 of the 2007 College World Series pitted the top-ranked Rice Owls against a team playing in their first-ever College World Series, the Louisville Cardinals. Freshman All-American Ryan Berry would get the start for Rice, a squad with the fourth-best team ERA in the country. Berry got off to a rough start, hitting 2 of the first 3 batters and allowing Louisville to score on an RBI single by designated hitter Jorge Castillo.
So Louisville, in their first inning of their first game at the College World Series, has a 1-0 lead.
The second inning would play out in similar fashion. A wild pitch by Berry allowed Louisville to advance a runner to third. Chris Cates hit an RBI ground out to short, scoring another run for the Cardinals. By the end of the inning, they led the Owls by 2. Louisville continued to take advantage of Rice's pitching in the third inning. With 2 runners on, the Cardinals' Chris Dominguez hit a 3-run homer to left field, putting Louisville up 5-0. After facing only 2 more batters, Berry would get pulled for junior Matt Langwell, who got the third out. Rice would steadily chip away at the lead in the bottom of the third. With 2 outs, the Owls used 4 singles to score 4 consecutive runs.
Runners with good leads at first and second. That's going to be a base hit into right field. Rodriguez charging the baseball. They're going to try and score the run and will. And the throw is going to have to come into second, and it is a 1-run ball game.
The Cardinals would finally make it out of the inning by catching Aaron Luna attempting to steal home.
Luna. They tried to score the run from third. Cates will put the tag on, and that will be the final out.
Louisville responded in the top of the fourth as Logan Johnson homered to right field to put the Cards back up by 2. Then in the top of the fifth, Louisville would add to their lead. Once again, they scored 4 runs on 4 straight hits, the last of which was a 2-run home run by Logan Johnson, his second of the day.
Goodbye home run! Logan Johnson is 15th of the season and his second of this ball game.
Coming into the bottom half of the inning, now down 10-4, it looked like Rice may have dug too deep a hole. However, this half of the inning would prove to be the turning point of the game. Instead of ending the inning with a double play, Louisville shortstop Chris Cates let a ball squeeze under his glove, allowing 1 run to score. The Owls were then able to bring in 2 more runs, the second of which came off a Jordan Dodson double to left center. Rice continued to peck away at the lead, getting 2 solo home runs, one in the 6th from junior Joe Savory, and another in the 7th from sophomore Aaron Luna. The score was now Louisville 10, Rice 9.
Goodbye, home run! Way back into the yellow seats. Aaron Luna makes this a 10-9 ball game.
Still down by 1 run in the 8th inning, Rice brought in left-handed reliever Bobby Bramhall. With 2 runners on, Bramhall loaded the bases by intentionally walking Louisville's Chris Dominguez, who already had 1 homer on the day. The gamble would pay off as he fanned Pete Rodriguez and forced Derek Alfonso to pop out, quelling any hopes the Cardinals had of extending their lead. If the Louisville Cardinals were going to hold on to win their first ever College World Series game, they were going to have to rely on closer Tristan Magnuson. But the redshirt senior would not be able to shut the door on the Owls this night. Rice put up 6 runs in the bottom of the 8th inning. Joe Savory and Danny Lehman started the rally with back-to-back RBI singles.
That ball drilled in the gap into left center field. Henley's going to come around to score.
Jess Banger followed with a sacrifice fly RBI. And Jordan Dodson hit a 2 RBI double.
1 run has scored. Lehman comes across. Luna makes the turn. He'll score. A 2 RBI double for Jordan Dodson.
Dodson also scored later on a fielding error. With that offensive outburst, the Owls defeated the Cardinals 15-10 and sent them to the losers bracket. Meanwhile, Rice moved on to Game 6 to face the University of North Carolina Tar Heels. Game 2 featured Mississippi State University versus the University of North Carolina. Mississippi State was hungry for victory after losing 4 straight NCAA games to UNC since 1989. The Tar Heels, last year's College World Series runner-up, came into this game as the number 3 seed, but they would find themselves down early in need of yet another comeback in this year's NCAA tournament. The Bulldogs jumped out to a 4-0 lead in the top of the second inning with 6 hits. Brian Laninfa singled up the middle, and Joseph McCaskill doubled to right.
The runner was not going. It's line to right.
MSU's Russ Snead followed them with a double to right center, scoring 2 RBIs. Connor Powers hit a sacrifice fly to bring Snead home.
But in to score is Russ Snead, and it's 3-0 for Mississippi State.
And Brandon Turner singled through the right side to bring in the 4th run of the inning. Snead also showed his fielding abilities in the bottom of the same inning when he started a double play that helped keep Carolina off the scoreboard.
And the Bulldogs turn a double play. Chad Flack hit it down to third. And Mississippi State went 5-4-3. Snead, Turner, and Laninfa.
The Tar Heels looked to sophomore Adam Warren to steady the team. He would do just that, pitching 4 1/3 innings of scoreless baseball and allowing only 3 hits. In typical fashion, UNC made up runs using base hits instead of relying on the long ball.
The Tar Heels are on the board. It's 4-1 as Chad Flack comes through with an RBI single.
Chad Flack and Benji Johnson both hit RBI singles up the middle, scoring 2 runs in the 4th inning.
And it's 4-2 in favor of Mississippi State. A big 2-out hit by Benji Johnson.
Down 4-2 in the 6th inning, a fielding error by MSU's Russ Snead gave new life to the Tar Heels. The error allowed 1 run to score and lit the fuse for what would become a fateful 6th inning. With 2 runners on, Benji Johnson doubled off the wall in left center for an RBI, tying the game at 4. MSU coach Ron Polk went to his bullpen bringing in reliever John Lawler, but the pitching change didn't help as Lawler walked Garrett Gore and hit Reed Franck with a pitch to force in the go-ahead run. Tim Fedroff followed that with a sacrifice fly. And Dustin Ackley hit a 2-out, 2-run single to give the Tar Heels a total of 6 runs in the 6th. By the end of the inning, North Carolina had the lead 8-4.
Ackley a base hit, will bring in 2.
MSU's Mitch Moreland blasted a shot over the center field fence for a homer in the top of the 7th, but it couldn't ignite enough momentum for Mississippi State to rally back. The Tar Heel come-from-behind victory was sealed by UNC closer Andrew Kerrigan, who earned his 3rd save of the tournament by combining with Rob Wooten to retire the final 7 Bulldog batters.
Strikeout to end it, and a 1-2-3 ninth for the Carolina closer. Kerrigan is 16th save.
With this win, the University of North Carolina Tar Heels moved 1 step closer to a return to the championship game.
Tar Heels on to the winner's bracket. They win it 8-5.
The University of California, Irvine entered Game 3 of the College World Series, hoping to end the 5-game postseason winning streak of the Arizona State Sun Devils. The game got off to a slow start until the bottom of the 2nd inning when Sun Devil Kyle Rowling drew a leadoff walk. 2 batters later, right fielder Ike Davis also drew a walk with 1 out, putting 2 runners on. Outfielder Matt Spencer cleared the bases, blasting his 9th home run of the season. A 3-run shot to right field to give the Sun Devils an early 3-0 lead.
Halfway up the bleachers.
The Anteaters battled back in the top of the 4th. Second baseman Cody Cipriano was hit by a pitch, and left fielder Matt Morris followed with a single off Arizona State's starting pitcher Mike Leake. Right fielder Brian Peterson followed with a triple to left center, scoring both Cipriano and Morris, cutting the lead to 1.
That is off the wall. Cipriano scores. Morris scores. Gonna try for the triple. No relay throw. A 3-bagger for Brian Peterson and 2 RBIs.
Irvine kept the route going when designated hitter Sean Madigan doubled, scoring Peterson and tying the game at 3 apiece. The Anteaters' 5th straight hit came from center fielder Ollie Linton, who singled, driving home Madigan for the go-ahead run, putting UCI up 4-3. After flying out in both of his previous at-bats, ASU's leadoff hitter, 3rd baseman C.J. Rutherford, hit his 4th postseason home run in 5 games, giving Arizona State their lone run of the 5th inning and tying the game at 4. The bottom of the 8th inning saw the Sun Devils hit their 3rd home run of the day to score the go-ahead run off Ike Davis's 1-ball, 1-strike solo shot to right field.
Ike Davis delivers the long ball, and Arizona State has a 5-4 lead.
With the score 5-4 in favor of Arizona State, this proved to be UCI starting pitcher Scott Gorgan's final pitch of the day. Arizona State reliever Jason Jarvis finished the game with no hits and only 1 walk in the final 2 innings of the game. He struck out 3 and stranded the tying run on second base to earn the win. With the victory, the Sun Devils move on to Game 8, where they face defending national champion Oregon State, while UC Irvine moves to the losers bracket in Game 7, a must-win situation to stay in the tournament. In the first round of the series, Game 4 matched the Titans of Cal State Fullerton against the Oregon State Beavers. Oregon State entered the 2007 College World Series hoping to become the first repeat champions in 10 years, since the LSU Tigers won back-to-back titles in 1996 and 97. The Beavers got things started in the first inning when Mike Lissman smacked his 9th home run of the season over the left field wall for an early 1-0 lead.
The 9th home run of the year for Mike Lissman gives Oregon State a 1-0 lead in the top of the first.
They kept it going in the second when left fielder John Wallace got a base hit to right field and eventually advanced to second when Fullerton starting pitcher Wes Romer threw the ball away on a failed pickoff attempt to first. Scott Sanchi then hit a single to center field, allowing Wallace to score and extending Oregon State's lead to 2.
Scott Sanchi delivers with a single.
Fullerton answered with a home run of their own in the third by Nick Mahan when he sent a 2-2 pitch into the bleachers in left field, cutting the lead to 1.
Nick Mahan, a long fly ball that just carried for his 10th home run.
The Titans pitching kept the Beavers off of the scoreboard for the next 4 innings as Romer found his zone, retiring the next 13 straight and 15 of the next 17. But the Beavers' bats wouldn't stay quiet for long. With 1 out in the 7th inning, Sanchi hit a fastball to right center for his first homer of the year. That allowed Oregon State to extend their lead to a count of 3-1. Fullerton battled right back in the 8th. Joe Scott singled before reaching third base on a Clark Hardman hit up the middle, which went off relief pitcher Joe Patterson's foot. With runners on second and third, the Titans tried an aggressive squeeze play. Josh Fellhauer's bunt resulted with Scott being trapped and eventually caught between third and home, allowing Hardman to advance to third. Now with runners on second and third again, Nick Mahan hit a sacrifice fly, scoring Hardman and moving the Titans within 1.
It's a 3-2 game. A sacrifice fly for Mahan.
Holding on to only a single-run lead, the Beavers were able to get 2 quick outs in the 9th before things got interesting.
What a stop at first by Leonardton.
Evan MacArthur's short fly caused some confusion between Oregon State's shortstop Darwin Barney and left fielder John Wallace. Wallace eventually called for it and dropped it, giving Wallace the error and allowing MacArthur to get on base. The Beavers then brought in reliever Eddie Kuntz, who promptly gave up a single to pinch hitter John Wilhite, putting runners on the corners. Next, the Titans brought up pinch hitter Joel Weeks. The .319 hitter ultimately grounded out to shortstop Darwin Barney for the 3rd out and gave the Beavers a victory in their first tournament game of the year. With this victory, Oregon State moves on to Game 8 to face the Arizona State Sun Devils, while the Fullerton Titans will face the UC Irvine Anteaters in a must-win Game 7, where the winner continues in the tournament and the loser goes home. Game 5 of the College World Series, and 2 teams were looking to stave off elimination as the University of Louisville Cardinals clashed with the Mississippi State Bulldogs for a chance to move on. Louisville's offense wouldn't take long to get hot as Logan Johnson, the second batter up, sent a full count offering over the center field wall for a 2-0 lead.
Third home run in 2 games here in Omaha, and the Cardinals have a 2-0 lead.
The Cardinals defense would do its part as well. In the bottom of the first, they were able to catch the Bulldogs' Jeffrey Ray attempting to steal second. The offensive onslaught continued in the second inning as redshirt freshman Chris Dominguez led off with his first homer of the game, a solo shot to center.
Goodbye home run. First pitch he sees.
On the other side, Mississippi State was having a rough time coming up with offense of their own. With 2 runners on base as the result of walks, freshman Brandon Turner grounded into a double play, and Russ Snead struck out looking to end the inning. The third inning would be no different for the Cardinals as the second of 2 straight doubles drove in 2 more runs and signaled the end of the day for the Bulldogs starter Chad Crosswhite. Daniel Burton knocked the first pitch he saw over the wall in left field, driving in 3 more runs and giving the Cardinals a solid 8-0 lead at the end of 4.
Burton gets a 3 RBI shot.
Finally, in the 5th inning, the Bulldogs were able to keep Louisville's offense in check, thanks in large part to the new pitcher, Tyler Whitney, and some fine defensive plays.
Butler, and they will get the force out at second base. Some fine defensive play in that inning.
In the 6th inning, Mississippi State stymied the Cardinal bats for the 2nd straight inning by striking out the side. Things would also begin to turn around offensively in the 6th for the Bulldogs. After Louisville starter Justin Marks was hit in the knee by a one-hopper, he wasn't able to regain his form, walking the next batter and then giving up a 3-run homer before being replaced. The newfound hope for Mississippi State wouldn't last long, though, as Louisville would add on 3 more runs in the top of the 7th, highlighted by Chris Dominguez's second homer of the game.
Goodbye home run, the last row underneath the scoreboard.
With Louisville continuing to add to their lead, the Bulldogs needed a spark for their comeback attempt. However, all they were able to muster was 1 more run, courtesy of a Mitch Moreland RBI double. After essentially dominating in all aspects of the game, Louisville would get some help in putting the game away. In the top of the 9th, a throwing error by MSU shortstop Jeff Butler allowed Chris Cates to score, making the final 12-4.
Play right there as Cates comes all the way around from first base.
With this impressive win, the Louisville Cardinals keep their title hopes alive and move to Game 9 of the series, where they will face the University of North Carolina Tar Heels. Game 6 of the College World Series featured the University of North Carolina Tar Heels against the Owls of Rice. Rice hoped to keep their momentum going, coming off an impressive 15-run, 19-hit display against Louisville only 2 days prior. The Owls got busy early, scoring their first 6 runs in the top of the 2nd inning. With 1 out, catcher Danny Lehman got things started with a double down the third base line. Pitcher Joe Savory then singled to right center field, scoring Lehman and making it 1-0. Freshman Diego Seastrunk kept things going with a double to right field, putting runners on 2nd and 3rd. Second baseman Jess Banger continued the onslaught with a single up the middle, scoring Savory, putting runners on the corners and increasing Rice's lead to 2.
It's 2-0 Owls on 4 straight hits.
After a hard-fought 11-pitch at-bat, first baseman J.P. Padron drew a walk and loaded the bases. Next up, shortstop and leadoff hitter Brian Friday hit a double to right center field, scoring both Seastrunk and Savory, making now 4-0. Padron scored from 3rd on a controversial Tar Heel balk to continue the Owls' route to 5. The final run of the inning came off a sacrifice fly from Jared Gayhart, pushing the tally to 6. North Carolina showed a brief display of offense in the bottom of the 2nd inning. With 1 out, right fielder Tim Fedroff singled and later scored off a double down the right field line by Garrett Gore, making it 6-1. The Owls didn't let up in the third when Seastrunk scored his second run of the day with a single from Padron, now extending their lead to 6, with the score now 7-1. The Tar Heels continued to show some life in the bottom of the third when Josh Horton scored off a Chad Flack single up the middle and moved the score to 7-2. Rice scored a pair apiece in the next 2 innings, giving them 11 runs on 10 hits through the first 5 innings. Danny Lehman pushed the total to a dozen in the top of the 7th with an RBI single. Their final 2 runs came in the top of the 9th when left fielder Aaron Luna hit his team-best 13th home run of the season, making him the final starting Owl to have a hit, run, and an RBI in the game. North Carolina used a tournament record 8 pitchers in this punishing loss when catcher Tim Fedorovich moved to the mound in the 9th. Having given up only 6 runs in their nearly 30 innings of tournament play, the Tar Heels bullpen gave up 7 runs in only 7 2/3 innings. With this 14-4 loss, North Carolina moves to the losers bracket, where they are forced into a must-win situation against Louisville to stay in the hunt. Meanwhile, Rice gets a much-needed 3-day rest before they will face the winner of the UNC-Louisville matchup in Game 9. Game number 7 of the College World Series was one for the record books. The University of California Irvine Anteaters met the neighboring Cal State Fullerton Titans in a battle that would be referred to as West Coast baseball at its finest. UC Irvine head coach Dave Serrano had been an assistant to Fullerton's George Horton from 1997 to 2004. But the similarities between these teams would become more apparent when they went toe-to-toe for 5 hours and 40 minutes, the longest game in College World Series history. The Titans jumped out early when junior Matt Wallach led off the inning with his 5th home run of the season. He lined Wes Etheridge's pitch over the right wall to give Cal State Fullerton a 1-0 advantage. UCI responded with a big 4th inning. 2 base hits and a walk loaded the bases for the Anteaters. With only 1 out, UCI's catcher Aaron Lowenstein was hit by a pitch, bringing home Matt Morris and tying the game. In the next inning, it was the Titans' turn. Freshman Josh Fellhauer got on base with a 1-out single. He moved all the way to third base on a pickoff attempt with the help of 2 throwing errors.
He's going to get down to second base, and there will be a throw. No play, and it goes into center. Linton will pick it up. His throw to third, not in time.
Nick Mahan followed that with a single to left field, which scored Fellhauer, putting Fullerton in the lead. The Titans were getting hot. 3 batters later, Matt Wallach drove in John Curtis to give them a 3-1 advantage.
0-1 delivery.
In the bottom of the 5th, the Anteaters responded. Matt Morris and Brian Peterson both got hits, putting runners on the corners for Sean Madigan. Madigan swatted the ball into the gap in left center, where Clark Hardman made a spectacular backhanded catch to end the inning.
With a tremendous catch.
Undaunted, the Anteaters came back again in the bottom of the 6th. Taylor Holliday drove a full count pitch over the right center wall, tying the game at 3-3.
Oh my gosh!
In the top of the 7th, reliever Tom Callahan walked the bases loaded. Fullerton's Corey Jones was hit by a pitch to bring Mahan home, and the Titans reclaimed the lead. But UCI wasted no time getting even. In the bottom of the same inning, Cody Cipriano led off with his school record-breaking 13th home run of the year. In true West Coast baseball style, 8 players were hit by pitches during this game. But none were as crucial as the last when the game was in extra innings. Tied at 4 in the bottom of the 13th inning, UCI's Taylor Holliday was hit by a pitch for the 3rd time in the game. Fullerton coach George Horton immediately protested that Holliday leaned into the ball intentionally. After a vehement protest, the coach was ejected from the game. A sacrifice bunt and intentional walk left UCI with runners on 1st and 2nd. Left fielder Matt Morris hit a line drive to left. Josh Fellhauer fielded it cleanly and gunned down Holliday at the plate. It looked like the Titans would survive. However, they changed pitchers, bringing in left-hander Dustin Barosik to face UCI's next batter, Brian Peterson, also a lefty. Despite the pressure of the moment, Peterson poked a walk-off single to center field, scoring Cipriano to win the game. The Anteaters outlasted the Titans in the longest game in College World Series history. With the 5-4 win, they advanced to Game 10 to face Arizona State University. Game 8 of the College World Series featured defending champion Oregon State University facing off with perennial powerhouse Arizona State in front of a crowd of almost 22,000 at Rosenblatt Stadium. 1 month earlier, the ASU Sun Devils swept the Beavers at home in Pac-10 conference play. In this game, Oregon State would score more runs in 2 innings than they had in all 3 games of that series. The start of the game was delayed for over an hour and a half because the preceding game went a College World Series record 5 hours and 40 minutes. The Sun Devils didn't adjust well to the time shift and had a hard time getting started. Oregon State's pitcher Mike Stutes retired the first 3 batters. Facing Arizona State's Brian Flores, who pitched a complete game 1 hitter against them last month, the Beavers came out swinging.
Back up the middle. Chopped to first, off the glove of Wallace. Throw to first, not in time.
They scored 2 runs on 4 hits in the first inning.
2 runs home.
Arizona State got a run back in the top of the second when right fielder Ike Davis singled to right to score an RBI. But the Sun Devils never got in the groove. In the bottom of the inning, Arizona State coach Pat Murphy decided to pull pitcher Brian Flores and brought in Josh Sato. Despite the change on the mound, the Beavers continued to shell the Sun Devils. Joey Wong doubled home a run.
Rips it down the right field line. That's trouble. It will roll to the wall and make it 3-1. And Wong with a stand-up RBI double.
3 more runs scored on Mike Lissman's second home run of the series, his 10th of the season. Oregon State scored a total of 4 runs in the second inning to lead the game 6-1. The Beavers' offense had something to prove. They scored a run in each of the next 3 innings and pulled away in the 6th inning when they scored 3 more runs. The lead after 6 was 12-1.
And Leonardson with his 8th home run.
Oregon State was doing the job on defense too. Shortstop Darwin Barney made a spectacular leaping grab in the 3rd inning to snag a C.J. Rutherford line drive.
Right there, that line drive, and look at that smile.
Coming into the game, Arizona State was batting .348 with 78 home runs in 62 games. Against one of the nation's top hitting and scoring teams, Oregon State's pitcher Mike Stutes gave up only 2 hits in the first 6 innings. Stutes left in the 7th inning with the bases loaded. The veteran Sun Devils came to life, scoring 4 runs off of 3 Beaver relievers in that inning. But it was too little, too late. Oregon State's relief pitcher Joe Patterson retired the last 2 batters and struck out 6 in the final 2 innings to give the Beavers the 12-6 win. With that, they moved 1 step closer to the 2007 championship. Game 9 of the series matched the University of North Carolina Tar Heels and the Louisville Cardinals in a contest that epitomized the adage good pitching beats good hitting. Sophomore Luke Pekonen proved why he was selected as a 3rd-round draft pick of the Detroit Tigers. The 6'6" right-hander tied his career high of 7 strikeouts. He allowed only a home run and 2 singles in 7 innings against a Louisville team that was hitting over .370 in the postseason. The outing matched the longest of his short 28-game career. The Cardinals jumped out to an early lead in the 1st inning with Logan Johnson's opposite field line drive home run. This tied the College World Series record of 4 and marked his 17th of the season. All of North Carolina's scoring would come in the top of the 2nd when Louisville's starting pitcher Colby Wark walked Tim Fedroff with 1 out and gave up a base hit to Kyle Seager with 2 outs.
Up the middle, Chris Cates tracks it down in shallow center, didn't get it there in time.
Seth Williams then hit a single to right field, which allowed the Tar Heels to score, tying the game at 1 apiece. With runners on the corners, Garrett Gore hit a grounder to 3rd baseman Chris Dominguez. His subsequent wild throw to first allowed both Williams and Seager to score the eventual go-ahead and winning runs. Tar Heel reliever Rob Wooten entered the game in the top of the 8th inning, making his UNC record-tying 44th appearance. Louisville then got a brief second wind when Logan Johnson was hit by a pitch and Wooten walked first baseman Daniel Burton. With 2 runners on base and 2 outs, UNC brought in All-American closer Andrew Kerrigan. This proved to be the difference as Kerrigan immediately struck out Isaiah Howes on 4 pitches. Though close to a .400 batter, Howes went 0 for 4, giving him 70 strikeouts in 71 games. Kerrigan eventually earned his 17th save of the season by striking out 3 of the 4 batters he faced. The 3-1 victory sent the Tar Heels on to Game 11, a rematch with Rice, who they lost to only 2 days prior, 14-4. Game 10 of the College World Series was played in front of more than 29,000 people, the second largest crowd in College World Series history. This was an elimination game between UC Irvine and Arizona State. These teams met in the first round of the tournament 3 days earlier. The Sun Devils edged out the Anteaters in that game 5-4, thanks to a solo shot home run by Ike Davis in the bottom of the 8th inning. But UC Irvine refused to give up. To get a rematch, they beat Cal State Fullerton 5-4 in a 13-inning, 5-hour and 40-minute game, the longest game in College World Series history. And it wouldn't get any easier for the Anteaters because the very next day, this game would also go into extra innings. Solid defense and quality pitching dominated the first few innings. ASU's Brian Flores gave up only 5 hits over 6 innings in his second start in 2 nights. The first score in the game didn't come until the bottom of the 4th when UC Irvine's Taylor Holliday willed himself home. He singled, moved to second on a sacrifice, stole third, and then scored on a balk.
And that will get a run home. How about that?
But that lead wouldn't last long. At the top of the next inning, ASU's leadoff batter Petey Paramore drove a pitch over the wall deep into right center, tying the game.
He's the only guy that's figured out Pettis so far, but he's figured him out beautifully.
The 2 teams continued to trade runs until the top of the 8th when the Sun Devils led 4-3. This is where ASU started to pull away. Petey Paramore doubled and Andrew Romine drove him in. Ryan Sontag followed that with a double off the wall to bring in 2 more runners, making it 7-3. But the Anteaters weren't ready to go home yet. ASU's relief pitcher Jason Jarvis was having a tough time finding the strike zone. He walked 3 batters in a row to start the inning, then hit Ben Orloff with a pitch to force in a run for UCI. Cody Cipriano followed that with an RBI single off of Jarvis, sending him to the showers.
1 run will score, they'll hold the runners. Cipriano.
Immediately following the pitching change, UC Irvine's Matt Morris doubled into the right center gap to bring in 2 more runs and tie the game at 7. They stayed deadlocked into extra innings. In the top of the 10th, Arizona State was unable to score. Now it was the Anteaters' turn. UC Irvine's Matt Morris singled and stole second. Brian Peterson was intentionally walked, and Sean Madigan got on to load the bases.
Hesitated, Laguna comes up throwing, and they will leave the bases loaded.
With 1 out in the bottom of the 10th, ASU reliever Mike Leake faced Ollie Linton. Linton hit a walk-off single to drive in Matt Morris for the victory. After the win, the UC Irvine Anteaters were referred to as a team of destiny as they advanced to Game 12 and the next round of the tournament. Game 11 was a rematch between the Owls of Rice and the University of North Carolina Tar Heels. North Carolina had something to prove to themselves going into the game. Coming off an embarrassing 14-4 rout at the hands of Rice only 3 days earlier, the Tar Heels were fighting to keep their championship hopes alive. In order to stay in the hunt, this was a must-win situation. Leadoff batter Reed Franck was hit by a pitch in the top of the first inning. Franck eventually scored off of a Josh Horton single to center field, allowing the Tar Heels to jump out to an early 1-0 lead.
Franck scores. Fedorov stopped at second.
Despite having committed no errors in their previous 4 games, Rice committed 2 in the second inning on back-to-back plays, putting 2 Tar Heels on base. The Owls starting pitcher Ryan Berry walked Franck with the bases loaded to score a run.
So bases loaded walk to Franck forces in a run, and it's 2-0 North Carolina.
Then Tar Heels catcher Tim Fedroff hit a sac fly to bring in Dustin Ackley, extending North Carolina's lead to 3-0. North Carolina's junior right-hander Robert Woodard started slow by allowing a base hit in both the first and second innings before retiring 12 of the next 13 batters he faced. Having pitched 6 2/3 innings, Woodard allowed only a single run on 7 hits against a team that had scored nearly 30 runs in their previous 2 outings. In the top of the 7th inning, North Carolina continued the drubbing when first baseman Dustin Ackley hit a 3-run blast to extend the Tar Heels lead to 6. Rice's lone offensive attack came in the bottom of the 7th when right fielder Jared Gayhart scored off of catcher Danny Lehman's double down the third base line. Tar Heel reliever Rob Wooten then entered the game and finished the inning only 2 pitches later when he got Owls third baseman Diego Seastrunk to ground out to first base. North Carolina closer Andrew Kerrigan eventually finished off the Owls 6-1, handing them their first loss in 10 games. These 2 teams were now even in the series and would meet the following night in Game 13, with the winner going on to play in the championship. Both Oregon State University and the University of California, Irvine knew the importance of Game 12 of the College World Series. It was an elimination game for UCI, who gained confidence after winning back-to-back extra-inning games against Cal State Fullerton and Arizona State. For the defending champion Beavers, it meant a shot at the title. They came in with the swagger of a team who expected to win it all. On the mound for Oregon State, junior right-hander Daniel Turpin was comfortable in must-win games. An 8th-round draft pick for the San Francisco Giants, Turpin had the winning effort in a key game in last year's championship. The Anteaters wasted no time in getting things started. In the top of the first inning, shortstop Ben Orloff got a base hit, and second baseman Cody Cipriano laid down a 1-out bunt to turn the wheel. It looked like Turpin was in a jam when UC Irvine's Brian Peterson hit a rocket to the warning track. Fortunately, OSU left fielder John Wallace went back against the wall to make the catch and retire the side.
They caught him! John Wallace!
After 2 consecutive extra-inning games depleted their pitching staff, UC Irvine started freshman right-hander Christian Bergman. Bergman threw 2 solid innings before the Beavers got the break they needed. In the bottom of the 3rd, Chris Hopkins was hit by a pitch to put a runner on for Oregon State. Joey Wong hit a sacrifice bunt that advanced Hopkins to second base. That play would prove to be crucial as the next batter, Mike Lissman, hit a grounder to third baseman Tyler Vaughn. Instead of the easy throw to second base, Vaughn was now forced to make the long throw to first. The throw was high, Lissman was safe at first, and Hopkins scored.
Tag, but he missed it, the run scored!
Mitch Canham stepped up to the plate next and crushed a homer to right center, bringing in Lissman to make the score 3-0 in favor of the Beavers. Shortstop Darwin Barney got to first base on a single, and John Wallace hit an RBI triple to right field, extending Oregon State's lead to 4.
Wallace on his way to third, and they'll hold him with a triple.
In the top of the 4th, Cipriano led off with a double for the Anteaters.
Turns on one, knocks it down in the corner.
Brian Peterson got on base after being hit by a pitch, and center fielder Ollie Linton picked up the eye to get UCI on the board. The Anteaters changed pitchers in the bottom of the 5th inning, bringing in Dylan Axelrod, but the Beavers' bats just kept coming. Joey Wong doubled with a shot just inside the left field foul line, and Mike Lissman's fly ball allowed Wong to advance to third. Darwin Barney drove Wong in with an RBI single to left center, making the score 5-1 in favor of the Beavers. They continued their run in the bottom of the 7th inning. Leadoff batter Lissman was walked, and catcher Mitch Canham singled with a chopper up the middle to put runners on first and third with no outs. Shortstop Darwin Barney hit another chop shot in the same spot for an RBI single. Another pitching change for the Anteaters brought in left-hander Tom Callahan. who got 3 quick outs to end the inning. The Beavers scored one more time in the 8th when Mitch Canham singled to chalk up his 3rd RBI for the night. He went 3 for 5, including the 2-run homer earlier in the game.
7-1 Oregon State.
With this win, the Oregon State University Beavers advance to Game 1 of the finals and move one step closer to a repeat title. Game 13 between the University of North Carolina and Rice was the 3rd time these two teams would meet in the tournament. They first battled in Game 6 with Rice pummeling UNC 14-4. But the Tar Heels came back after winning their elimination game against Louisville to beat Rice 6-1 in Game 11. This, their 2nd game in 2 days, would be the tiebreaker. The winner would go on to play for the championship. Having hit only 2 homers in the previous month, the Tar Heels hit 4 against Rice's sophomore right-hander Matt Langwell and left-handed junior Bobby Bramhall. The two had only given up a total of 4 in almost 140 innings combined. Freshman Dustin Ackley's solo shot off the center field roof in the bottom of the 2nd inning gave the Tar Heels an early 1-0 lead. Rice responded in the top of the 3rd with a 2-out, 2-run single by Diego Seastrunk. Tim Fedroff answered back with his 5th homer of the year and his first in almost 3 months. A 2-run blast in the bottom of the 3rd, giving North Carolina a 3-2 lead. Bramhall entered with 1 out in the bottom of the 4th and promptly gave up a solo home run on his 2nd pitch to junior center fielder Seth Williams. On the first pitch of the 5th inning, junior shortstop Josh Horton sent one over the wall in right center, giving the Tar Heels a 5-2 lead. Designated hitter Kyle Seager gave North Carolina their final 2 runs later in the 5th with an RBI single, pushing their lead to 7-2. Rice's hopes were revived when Tar Heel reliever Rob Wooten allowed a single from left fielder Jordan Dodson and a double by center fielder Tyler Henley, adding 2 more runs and making the score 7-4.
A hit for Henley. 1 run scores. Runners at 2nd and 3rd.
Tar Heel All-American closer Andrew Kerrigan was brought in the bottom of the 7th with runners on 2nd and 3rd and 2 outs to face Rice All-American Joe Savory. Hitting .362, Savory fouled off the first 4 pitches, the 4th coming off a wild pitch behind his head that hit his bat. 2 pitches later, Kerrigan got Savory looking on a controversial strike 3 to end the inning.
Strike 3 on the outside corner. Close pitch, and Rice strands 2.
Kerrigan pitched the final 2 1/3 innings without allowing a hit to score his 18th save of the season and tied the College World Series record of 5. After scoring 29 runs in their first 2 College World Series games, Rice managed to score only 5 in their 2 losses to the Tar Heels. This victory put the Tar Heels in the finals, where they would face the Oregon State Beavers, a rematch of the 2006 championship.
Stay this hot. We'll bring it home.
Championship Game 1 was a rematch between the University of North Carolina Tar Heels and the Oregon State Beavers. This was only the 2nd finals rematch in the College World Series' 61-year history. The defending champion Beavers were undefeated in this year's series. On the mound was freshman right-hander Jorge Reyes, who continued to demonstrate the superior pitching of Oregon State. Despite allowing UNC's Reed Franck a double off the left field wall on the first pitch of the game, Reyes was able to keep them off the board until the 5th inning.
Couldn't track it down, and it's a stand-up double on the first pitch.
The Tar Heels defense shined in the first with a double play to end the inning, their first of a record-tying 5 in the game.
1 on to first, the first double play that Oregon State has hit into in the entire College World Series. It comes from the bottom of the first, Game 1 of the finals.
With 2 outs in the bottom of the 2nd, the Beavers scored first when Scott Sanchi drew a walk, and Jordan Lennerton hit a towering shot over the wall in right center. Just like that, Oregon State led by 2.
Deep right center field, and it's gone!
The They picked up another run in the third as Mitch Canham brought Joey Wong home on a sacrifice fly. Canham's shot into deep center field might have allowed the Beavers another chance to score. Mike Lissman took off too early and was almost home by the time the ball was thrown to first for the easy out. Again, the Tar Heels turned to the double play when they needed it. In the bottom of the fourth inning, UNC got another when Scott Sanchi hit a 2-2 pitch to the second baseman to set up a double play that ended the inning. Through 4 innings, Reyes still had a 3-hit shutout going, and the Beavers led 3-0. He had retired the first 2 batters when Seth Williams singled with a blooper to short right center. Garrett Gore singled down the right field line and reached second on a Scott Sanchi throwing error.
Williams on his way to third. Here comes the throw. He'll be held.
After getting up on the next batter with a 1-2 count, it looked like Reyes would get Reed Franck with a called third strike. The pitch was called a ball, and 2 pitches later, Franck hit a 2 RBI double to left center.
Line to the gap in left center field. That's in there with a wall and will score 2.
It was 3-2 in favor of the Beavers going into the bottom of the 5th. Oregon State's junior third baseman Lonnie Leckel doubled down the right field line.
Leckel down the right field line. He's going to go for 2. And head first into second base with a double.
Center fielder Chris Hopkins followed with an RBI single up the middle, making the score 4-2. But the Tar Heels, who had come from behind in 5 games of the NCAA tournament, were determined not to let the Beavers pull away from them. For the 4th time in the game, they turned a double play to end the inning. In the 6th inning, UNC made their first pitching change. They pulled Alex White and brought in reliever Matt Danford. Still, Oregon State added 2 more runs. With 1 out, Beaver Darwin Barney hit a single to right center to put runners on the corners.
Barney goes the other way and delivers runners at first and third.
Left fielder John Wallace followed that with a sacrifice fly RBI to deep center, which scored Canham and allowed Barney a chance to advance to second. 2 pitches later, Scott Sanchi singled through the left side, bringing Barney home from second and making the score 6-2 in favor of Oregon State. That would be all for UNC pitcher Danford, as they replaced him with freshman left-hander Rod Catapano, who finished the inning. The Beavers made a pitching change of their own with 1 out in the top of the 7th. Junior left-hander Joe Patterson was brought in to relieve Reyes. Taking over with 2 runners on, Patterson walked Reed Franck to load the bases. Tim Fedroff followed that with a sacrifice fly RBI to right to get the Tar Heels another run.
Sanchi makes the catch, throws towards second, and the run will score.
Patterson recovered by striking out junior Josh Horton to get out of the jam with a 6-3 lead.
Breaking ball struck him out. The inning is over.
Taking advantage of UNC's pitching troubles, the Beavers increased their lead in the bottom of the 7th. Junior reliever Tyler Trice faced 4 batters, made 2 throwing errors, and allowed 3 unearned runs to score.
2 runs will score, and Joey Wong hit first into third base.
Next, UNC brought sophomore lefty Matt Cox to the mound. He faced 3 batters and walked 2 to force in another run. The Tar Heels went back to their bullpen for the 4th pitcher in this inning, Mike Ficini. The right-handed junior gave up 1 RBI sac fly to Jason Ogata.
Fedorov makes the catch, and the throw to the plate is not in time.
They finally got out of the inning with their 5th double play of the game, and Sanchi hit a grounder to second base. At the end of the 7th, it was OSU 10, UNC 3.
And it is a double play.
The top of the 8th saw the Tar Heels trying to rally. Pinch hitter Benji Johnson crushed a solo homer to left field, making it 10-4. Chad Flack singled to third base, and pinch hitter Kyle Shelton singled up the middle to put 2 runners on.
Back up the middle, and even Darwin Barney can't get there, and it's a base hit for the pinch hitter Shelton.
But the Beaver defense rose to the occasion, turning a double play of their own to retire the
The
side.
mystery, this is hit down to third. Second for 1. Wong with that turn on to first for a double play. That's a huge double play to get out of trouble. We'll go to the bottom of the 8th.
The final score of the game came when junior Mitch Canham was hit by a pitch, forcing in another run for OSU in the bottom of the 8th inning. The final score was Oregon State University 11 and the University of North Carolina 4. The Beavers were within 1 win of their 2nd straight College World Series title. Championship Game 2 was the University of North Carolina's opportunity to even up the series with Oregon State. In 2006, the Tar Heels won the first game of the championship, and the Beavers came back to win the series and the title. Now UNC hoped to get even. The Tar Heels were the first to get a runner on base when OSU's Mike Stutes hit Reed Frank with a pitch.
Walk to start the ballgame.
Josh Horton singled to left center, advancing Frank to third.
To the gap in left center, and that's going to fall off the bat of Josh Horton.
Dustin Ackley followed that with an RBI single through the left side that put UNC on the board. This was the first time that OSU had trailed in 61 innings over 7 games.
And that 61 innings in a row streak is over.
But the Beavers starter, Stutes, didn't get flustered. He got 3 outs from the next 3 batters, catching Josh Horton in a fielder's choice at the plate and causing Seth Williams to fly out to center with runners on the corners. The Tar Heels finished the first inning with a 1-0 lead.
So North Carolina,
getting out of the first inning jam with only 1 run scored, fired up the Beavers. Mitch Canham singled off of third baseman Chad Flack's glove. Darwin Barney followed that with a 2-run homer down the left field line, giving him Oregon State's all-time hits record. John Wallace lined a single to right field and then stole second. Right fielder Scott Sanchi walked, and first baseman Jordan Lennerton hit a pop fly to center field, which advanced Wallace to third. After a wild pitch allowed Sanchi to move to second, Carolina pitcher Luke Peconin tried to compose himself. He succeeded briefly, striking out junior Lonnie Lecter.
And tried to check his swing, but couldn't.
At the very next batter, Chris Hopkins hit a chopper to third baseman Chad Flack, who botched the throw. Hopkins was safe, Sanchi advanced to third, and Wallace scored.
Came off to field the low throw from Flack.
Hopkins stole second, and Chris Wong walked before the Tar Heels pulled Peconin and brought in reliever Andrew Kerrigan. UNC didn't have any hits in the bottom of the second, and the score at the end of the inning was OSU 3, UNC 1. In the third inning, Oregon State's leadoff batter Mitch Canham singled up the middle, and Darwin Barney grounded out, advancing Canham to second. Sophomore John Wallace followed with a walk, and senior Scott Sanchi drove an RBI single to center field to score Canham.
It's going to fall and get a run home.
Wallace was on third, and Jordan Lennerton grounded into a double play, leaving 1 runner on. In the bottom of the third, starting pitcher Mike Stutes was having a hard time finding the strike zone for the Beavers. He walked Reed Frank, allowed Josh Horton a single, and walked Dustin Ackley. With the bases loaded, Tim Fedorovich drove in a run on a fielder's choice to the shortstop, scoring Frank. With that run, the Tar Heels narrowed the gap, making it a 2-run ball game. Once again, the junior pitcher Stutes would regain his focus. He struck out Fedorov and ended the inning on a pop fly from Williams. Both teams would tack on a run in the 5th. Oregon State's leadoff batter Mike Lissman was hit by a pitch. Mitch Canham was walked to put 2 runners on, but Darwin Barney hit into a double play, leaving Lissman on third with 2 outs. Sophomore John Wallace then got an RBI single to left field, scoring Lissman. In their half of the inning, Carolina would get 1 back. Dustin Ackley swatted a solo home run to right field.
Right back, and it's gone.
2 more batters got on base before Stutes was able to make Kyle Seager ground out to end the inning. The score at the end of 5 was Oregon State 5, University of North Carolina 3.
They're out of another jam.
The 6th inning produced pitching changes for both teams. Andrew Kerrigan hit leadoff batter Lonnie Lecter with a pitch. A pop out from Chris Hopkins and a walk for Joey Wong left runners on first and second with 1 out. UNC brought in right-hander Rob Wooten, who forced Mike Lissman to pop up to the shortstop and left Mitch Canham looking on a called 3rd strike for the 3rd out. In the bottom of the 6th, the Beavers brought in senior left-hander Anton Maxwell to replace Stutes, who had just given up a double. Maxwell retired the side with 2 runners left on base. The Beavers continued to add to their lead in the 7th. Sophomore John Wallace tripled to right field, and senior Scott Sanchi drove him in with a single through the right side. Chris Hopkins hit an RBI single up the middle, bringing Sanchi home and making the score 7-3 in favor of Oregon State. A bright spot for the Tar Heels came in the 7th, when center fielder Seth Williams made a spectacular catch on Joey Wong's pop fly to retire the side.
What a catch by Seth Williams in center field to rob Hopkins.
Mark Gerberbach took the mound for the Beavers in the bottom of the 7th. North Carolina's Tim Fedroff singled up the middle, and center fielder Seth Williams doubled down the left field line. But when Fedroff tried to score on the play, he was gunned down at the plate. The final 2 runs of the game came in the top of the ninth, when Jordan Leonardson sent a ball deep into the center field bleachers for a 2-run homer.
Off the second wall.
Oregon State's lefty Joe Patterson finished the game with a called strike 3-2 pitch that left Kyle Shelton looking. The final score was Oregon State 9, University of North Carolina 3. With this win, the Beavers became the first team in a decade to win back-to-back national titles, continuing one of the most dominant runs in the 61-year history of the College World Series.